Good morning. So glad you could join me. And today is the third one in January. We're going to talk a little bit about rigidity and what rigidity means and sort of kind of capture the essence of it. And it's also the first day, maybe day and a half, where we're in Aquarius. And Aquarius is this air sign. It's invisible. It's like Wi-Fi. And so rigidity and Aquarius are sort of a nice little dovetail because when they come together like, oh no, so that's what's going on, right? So when I start these, I always start with a definition. So let's go to rigid. Outside of being a really popular power tool, which is when I Google it, that's what comes up. It's when we're deficient or void of flexibility. It means that we don't really know how to bend. We're a little stiff. We're unyielding. We're hard, and so hard can go with metal. It can go with cement. It can, it means that it's impermeable, right? Like it's just not going to yield. So when we're unable to bend or unable to move, it means that we can't really be changed or persuaded to do something else. We can't move with what comes up. And Wi-Fi, Aquarius, is always asking us to move in a direction of the collective, right? It also, to be rigid, can also be rigid with fear, which is when I get triggered, when I get activated, my entire body goes into this. And anyone who's, been awakened with sounds in the middle of the night or had some sort of experience where they were in immediate danger or fear, your body goes rigid until it decides what to do. So that rigidity can be both physical, emotional, mental. It can come from a lot of different places. Now, when we're looking at rigidity, it means that we're being in the state of rigid, right? That just means that, I can hold rigid in my body, right? And it can be for an instance. It can be for only a moment. It doesn't mean we have rigidity in us at all times. It means that there are times when we are rigid, times that we can demonstrate rigidity in our relationships, in our jobs, in our sense of self, right? And rigidity is a resistance to change of form, which is I'm really comfortable with the way things are right now. Don't rock the boat. Don't change it. It's working really well right now. What's it that if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? And rigidity can be a reaction to fear, which is too many changes too fast. And it can either be constant or it can come and go. So rigidity is an essence of something that locks us up. It's our safety place. We go rigid and we go, I'm going to hold on, I'm going to hold tight, and I'm going to just stay here and I'm going to wait it out. And I think the biggest part of wanting to talk about this today is that the waiting out may not be in our highest interest. Because if we're waiting for something to go back to normal, if we're waiting for something to calm down, if we're waiting for our lives to get a little bit easier, it is in our rigidity that we have to look at this. So it makes sense to me that with all the chaos and changes that we're experiencing, we as cultures, we as communities, we as family systems, we as partnerships, we as an individual, right? Me, myself, and I can have some rigidity. And that rigidity is something that keeps us from bending so that we don't fail. And it's, when we go back to it's a solid, stubborn, unmovable, cannot yield energy. It's sort of like the old Western heroes or the old cop shows. If we look back to how you were raised, what examples you held of, it stops here and nothing goes through me. That is an old value system that we have carried in our memories, in our experiences for a long time. And these skills are how to be solid in front of somebody and then hold. And yes, there's a time for that. And yet, when the changes are energetic, go back to last week's video when we're talking about frequencies. What happens when frequencies are changing and we're being rapid fire on by solar flares, by the Schumann resonance, by different things that are invisible that are rocking us. then our rigidity gets triggered. And, we're just sitting ducks. Something comes by and we're like, that was awful. Something else comes by, that was awful. And it's kind of like when I was coaching parents, I used to use the example all the time of whack-a-mole. You think you've got something and then something else pops up. And you're just getting angry and angry and angry because you need it to stop, right? You get stuck in trying to take care of what's going on the external side, on the outside. So there are some new skills that we're being asked to use, of course, being asked to explore. Skills like responsiveness, adaptability, receptivity, how to bend and mold, right? How to know and trust yourself, how to be flexible. And so these strengths are learning how to access strength in a different way, sort of changing the old modalities of, I'm an impermeable force to I'm strongest when I'm adaptable. And I think the reason that we need to talk about this is that changes are coming at light speed. They're coming much faster in the pace or the time of what we're trying to address than what we've been trained to do. So it's really hard to sort of deal with all of this rapid fire change, momentum, things that are coming at us, right? So the example that I would use, and usually I have the camera set back a little bit more so you can see me, but let's just say that, I've got all of these things that are on my desk that I'm trying to hold on to, right? And my hands are full and I'm trying really hard not to drop anything, right? So I've been working at holding this, and then when things are coming at me rapid fire, it's like, stop, don't you see I have my hands full? This is not okay. So our rigidity gets triggered when we are weighted down with a whole bunch of things that we're trying to hold and carry. So, over the last decade, we've been asked to remove these old wounds, remove the clutter, to remove the toxins from our bodies, to be aware of our own triggers, our old pains, and to be a new kind of warrior. And so the new kind of warrior image we would use is let's go to the Matrix. Let's go to, something tiger, I'm dating myself. Any movie where martial arts or moving in presence is, and you just simply have the flexibility to let it go by. If we're rigid, if we're stuck, we don't have that flexibility. So how do we become less locked inside and less rigid so that we're more adaptive and we don't get stuck? Because when we are rigid, this is what I discovered this last 2 weeks in my coaching. Been working with the 4 agreements. When we're rigid, when we're stuck, when we are inflexible, we take things personally, one of the 4 agreements, and 2, we make assumptions that the other person is doing something on purpose, or that they're silly, or that they're wrong. And so what happens is when you lay the 4 agreements out on the elements or on the chart of the fourfold way, then these 2 components, whether it is not taking something personally or not making assumptions, are the feminine qualities that are what we are being asked to shift into and own. So these feminine qualities of they can say whatever they want, I'm not going to take it personally, it has nothing to do with me. And I'm so adaptive that when something comes at me, I'm not going to make an assumption that it was aimed at me or done to me on purpose. I'm just going to, or even that they don't know what they're doing. I'm just going to move with it, which is to be, to let go of assumptions and attachments. So part of what I do each week is I give you some tips. So I have 6 for you today, and I thought I'd go through them and let's sort of see what comes up, right? So the first one is to do a scan of your body. Just close your eyes for a second and scan in. And are you feeling dense or heavy? Are you feeling lithe and pliable? What is it that you notice about your body? Can you feel the balls of your feet? If you stand up and you move around, are you on the balls of your feet, or are your feet sort of numb from the knees down, right? Can you dance? Can you move? Can you bend? This is a really good place to start because our body is going to show us where we are rigid. course it is, right? Number 2, to go inside and sort of like wonder, does this topic really agitate me? And do a body scan. Is it tightening your breath or is it loosening it? Is your heart rate going faster? Can you tell the difference? Can you tell the difference of when your breath is moved up to here and you're in that fight or flight response, right? Or when your breath is down deep into your lungs and you're expanding and moving, and you can be like an athlete on your toes, ready for anything. Number 3, look at your neurology, which is your nervous system and your mind, right? Is it on high alert or is it relaxed? Are you feeling levels of anxiety or are you feeling an inner calmness? How do you calm down your nervous system? How do you calm down the racing thoughts that are going through your head? So I have lots of previous videos on just this. What happens when we're out of balance and we have these racing thoughts, right? Because our thoughts and our nervous system can be managed, they can be changed, and they can be shaped. So how do we learn how to do that in a way that keeps us in balance, keeps us in flexibility, keeps us out of rigidity? Number 4, practice flexibility in your body, in your movements. In the music you listen to, in the shows you watch, in the foods that you eat, in the ways that you dress, in the routines, the grocery stores you have, the pathways to work, the ways that you walk, but change it up. Get out of the system of knowing what to expect so that your body can learn how to experience new things without going into fight or flight or fear. So, try lots of new things. Practice flexibility. It makes sense, right? Number 5, explore when and where you feel that stiffness or that resistance. Where does it show up? Does it come and go? Is it situational? Or is it constant, which is environmental? Is it about the people I live with? Is it about the place that I work? Or does it come up when I'm around certain environments or certain shows or certain words that trigger me? Watch where the rigidity comes in and where it goes out. Where it comes in and where it goes out, okay? And number 6, I'm just gonna prop this up right here. Gently encourage all parts of you to be flexible, to be responsive, to be adaptive, because this is where we're learning how to be gentle with ourselves, which is when something comes up, when we go into that rigidity. The hardest thing is when the mental goes, there you go, you're being rigid again, as opposed to, it's okay. That's going to happen. So how do I loosen it up a little bit faster? Because it isn't about being right or wrong or good or bad at this. It's about knowing how to use responsiveness and adaptability and flexibility when something comes up. Something comes up, you get a zinger from a solar flare, you're exhausted, you don't know if you can work. You go, okay, so this is what we're doing right now. So this is the kind of thing that we're going to keep talking about. So when energy frequencies are moving around, when there's chaos on the outside and there's a lot of change coming, we have to look at where we hold the responses to that in our body and how it affects our relationship with ourselves, our relationships with our partners, our lovers, right? And our relationship with our children or our parents or whatever situation that we are in. So like and subscribe and get on this regular list so that we can keep exploring this throughout 2022, because I think there's some phenomenal things coming down the pike. And I'm so appreciative to those of you who've been sitting there watching and just paying attention to this the whole time. So thank you. And I will see you next Sunday. Have a great week. Take care. Bye-bye.